and we're looking forward to continuing that conversation.
Very good. Question I have for Mr. Lucas has to do with possession limits. I think that you said that when it comes to people that are receiving medicinal marijuana, 78% of them are using less than 3 grams a day. And so within C45, the possession limits for personal possession have been set at 30 grams, which would be 10 days of, like I would consider a fairly serious marijuana use. What do you think of those limits? Do you think those are reasonable for personal possession, or would you like to see those reduced?
I think that that this is a fine starting point in the absence of available data on how much individuals might use. I think that this would cover a few days of use, perhaps someone who's traveling, who had a particular, who wanted to access product at of a certain quality out of a certain outlet. I think that 30 grams seems like a reasonable limit. I don't think that we want to encourage people to be going into cannabis stores on a daily basis in order to pick up their product any more than we will want people to pop into the beer store on a daily basis. The evidence suggests that when it comes to the recreational use of cannabis, it'll be quite different patterns of use than medical. With medical, when we're talking about chronic pain and mental health conditions, these are chronic conditions, and they usually end up seeing chronic use. And in fact, with medical cannabis patients, the survey I just shared, 74% of patients use daily. With recreational use, I would expect it to be more towards weekends, and in fact, for that use to be lower than what we're actually seeing right now with medical use. And you can actually reduce use considerably by encouraging vaporization and also the use of extracts, which are much longer lasting. So extracts and edibles would further reduce that use.
Excellent. One more question. When it comes to the bill and it's talking about being able to promote cannabis, I see a real difference between people that are engaged in the medical marijuana industry, which is growing globally. Tilray has moved into my community with a facility that exports to 5 countries. And I would think as a product, you do need to promote and brand, and to be free to do that on your webpage and in other countries. And it looks quite restrictive in C45 that would not be allowed for medical marijuana producers. I can understand why we don't want to encourage that recreationally to make it look sexy or wonderful for younger people. But could you comment on whether you think that's limiting?
Sure. We are currently limited, like all prescription drugs in Canada, in terms of our branding already. And in fact, that branding is much more restrictive than we see for alcohol and tobacco as it stands right now. No advertising. You won't see a magazine ad or otherwise promoting Tilray or any of the licensed producers in Canada. We do feel that it's important, however, for patients to be able to make informed choices, for us to be able to reach out with public health-centered campaigns and provide information, particularly for the recreational users who might be coming into this system and not know how to safely use products, whether it be the difference between smoking or vaporization and edibles, and also being able to encourage people to stay away from smoking where possible. So I think that it's very important that we're able to get some of that messaging across. And I just want to share one concept that's very important for us to consider in this. We are talking a lot about reducing the harms of cannabis, which is absolutely appropriate because that's one of the concerns as we move towards legalization. But as an academic researcher, if you're doing research on humans, you have a joint responsibility, and they're equally responsible when you're developing a new drug or introducing a new product. You have to reduce the harms to end users, and you have to maximize the benefits. And I think that this committee has a chance to do both, not only reduce the harms associated with cannabis as it's introduced in a legalization, but reduce the impacts of course, prohibition, but also maximize the benefits of this adult access. And I shared some of the benefits in the reduction of alcohol use that we've seen in the U.S. states as well, and of course the reduction in opioid use as well.
Thank you.